This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we have a dynamic guest. She's the Leslie Knope of her generation. From the Fantasy Footballers and Football Guys, it's Julia Papworth. Welcome to the show, Julia.
Hi, thanks for having me. I love that you said that.
Well, I mean, hey, it's in the bio, so it's official.
It is in the bio. It is.
Before we dive into the life story of Julia Papworth episode, can you share with the listeners and viewers what your role is with the Fantasy Footballers and the new exciting role with Football Guys?
Yeah. I've been with the Ballers now for I think like 4 years, and I'm a writer over there, and I contribute a bunch of different stuff, whether it's rookie profiles or stuff with the, podcast recaps as the year goes on, kind of whatever they sort of need over there, which is great. And just signed on with Football Guys too, which is super exciting. And same sort of thing, like any sort of content, they're really cool over there and very like, let you do your own thing. And there's some shorter form content that I've been doing and all the way up to some longer stuff that I'm looking forward to doing. So it's great. I'm super excited to be over there too. So.
Exciting times, excited to have you on here. Of course, I've loved my interactions with you these last couple of years, and especially at these live events that we've been hitting up. But let's rewind back. Where did your passion for sports come from? Were you a big sports fan as a kid? Was that a big part of your childhood?
Well, my family is English. I'm an only child, and my parents are British, and they came over to Arizona when my mom was pregnant with me. And I think they just wanted to do anything that was American. So they got into sports. My dad got into sports really fast, watching football, watching basketball. And I just started watching it with him. Like I said, only child. And, I was very, I would kind of kept to myself when I was younger. I was like in my own head a lot. And so hung out with my dad a lot, watched a lot of sports there, and was just always a fan from the get-go. So
yeah, you are an Arizona Cardinals fan. So growing up, were there other teams, players that you thought, your favorite players as a kid?
Yeah. They moved over in 1980, so they kind of became fans of whoever was big at the time. So I grew up a Detroit Pistons fan for basketball, which makes sense with the time. And I grew up a Niners fan, actually. So I was quite a Joe Montana fan growing up. And then as I got old enough to realize that we actually kind of had a sports team, even though it was kind of crap at the time, I sort of became a Cardinals fan there. So yeah, I always have a soft spot for Niners fans. I mean, I married one, so there we go.
Okay, that's gonna be tough inside the division, but that's I can see where that comes from. As a Seahawks fan, Seattle guy, I mean, it's hard to root for either of those teams, but I do have sympathy for the Cardinals.
It's so tough.
I like to go down to Arizona. We have some family that are down there, so I have a soft spot for the Cardinals. I feel bad.
Thank you.
Obviously, you've had some rough moments as a sports fan. What was the worst moment you can think of?
I mean, I think it's goes without saying. It's when Santonio Holmes got 2 feet down. Like, he did not get 2 feet down. He got 1 foot down. I remember when Larry Fitzgerald caught that touchdown to put us ahead. And I remember where I was watching that Super Bowl. And I remember thinking, I wasn't at home. I had moved to California at the time. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Oh my God, we're going to win the Super Bowl. And then I was like, oh my God, we're never going to get back here again. We're never going to get back again. So that was tough. It's so funny. I met James Harrison a few years ago, and I had a very long discussion with him about that game. And I don't know if he appreciated it. So
I love it. I can see why that would be a heartbreaker, because, it's the biggest game in the world. You seal the deal with the touchdown, and then it comes down to that, just inches. I guess, so centimeters. Yes, I can see that.
So close.
How about your favorite all-time sports moment? What was your favorite moment you've experienced?
My favorite moment would be when the Diamondbacks won the World Series, because that was 2001. Like, I feel like any sports fan at all, even if you weren't a baseball fan, you watched baseball you watch that World Series because of the time of where we were in the world and what was going on. And my family had never been baseball fans. And when we got a team, we started watching. And I could tell you every single play from that whole World Series. Like, I remember every game. I remember like the feeling I felt when they called, like when that hit was, and it just went right behind second base. And I remember just, it's, you know how it's in your brain and you're never going to forget it. Yeah, that was definitely the best moment of sports. And my mom was really into baseball. It was funny, like she never was starting when we started watching it, but she got really into it, and she loved like all that entire class of guys who played for the Diamondbacks that year. So that was really nice to see her excited about it. So
yeah, and as a Mariners fan, I loved the big unit, Randy Johnson getting a chance to find some success. So I can appreciate that one for sure. Now, professionally,
that was a great team. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
Yeah.
You professionally, you've had quite a unique journey. You've done a lot of different things. When did you decide that you wanted to get into cosmetology and hair? And how did the opportunity to get out to Hollywood and do some work? How did that begin? Like how did that happen?
Well, I was in law school, so I was going to be a lawyer. And then I realized that I didn't think I would be fulfilled doing it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to spend this time and this money and doing it. And so I dropped out of law school. And I remember the guy that I was dating at the time, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't be a bartender my entire life. I can't, work in restaurants. And he was like, you should go to hair school. And I always think he'd be good at hair school. And I was like, fine, I'll do that. I need to get, do something to feel like I was moving myself forward. And I had always wanted to move to LA. Arizona is hot, and there wasn't, tons of stuff there. And I was like, okay, this could get me to California pretty easy. So I, went to hair school and got my license. And then I was probably within a year, I had moved to LA, and I was like, I'm going to do hair for movies. And I was, I had my parents instilled in me this very high sense of self-worth and belief that I can do anything, which is great. But sometimes then looking back on it, I want to be like, I probably shouldn't have been that confident. Like, I just was like, I'm going to do it. I'll be fine. I don't know anybody. And I didn't know anybody. It just came right out. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Now you have an incredible resume. Like the projects you worked on, it's pretty amazing. What are some of your favorite experiences from working in television and film?
I mean, I did Drunk History for 6 seasons, and that was absolutely incredible. That was so fun, and the work we did there was just so entertaining and creative. I've had some really cool like interactions in my job, and I'm never wowed by actors. I just like, I work with them every day, but I've gotten so lucky to meet some sports people. Like I said, I met James Harrison. And so in season 2 on my show, I work on SWAT, and we had him and we had Eric Dickerson on there on an episode. Yeah, that was, I remember it was a Thursday night. And there was a Thursday night game. And I remember sitting in the van that was taking us from set to parking, to base camp. And I was sitting next to Eric Dickerson with the game on my phone. And it was like, I think it was like Chargers Chiefs. It was that really close game that Phillip Rivers won in the very last second. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I'm watching this with one of the greatest players of all time. And it was, one of those like pinch me moments. That was incredible. We had Andy Reid on set this year. Like, oh my God, that was incredible. Him and his wife, and she let me wear her rings. And I remember I was smiling so big, and I came inside back in the trailer, and my friend Kate was in the trailer, and I showed her the photo, and she goes, Julia, I have never seen you smile that big, even at your wedding. And I was like, it was just so amazing. It was like, it's cool. I've been very fortunate to like have these really super cool moments that like other like people don't get these moments, like to sit there and talk to him for 20 minutes about his life. That was incredible. So
that's amazing. He's such awesome.
A nice man. Yeah,
I believe it. It's pretty cool coming off of a Super Bowl win, right?
I know. He was just nice, and we were talking about the game, and he was like, yeah, Kyle just, he called such a great game, and he's just a nice dude. You can't hate him for anything. You really can't. So
that's amazing. So
Yeah.
that's obviously one part of your world. Another part of your world is CrossFit, right? You're a
Yeah.
diehard CrossFitter. Where did that passion come from?
I mean, it's funny. I wasn't an athlete growing up. I was like a fat kid who was like falling down a lot and like running into things. I was like horrible. And when I moved to LA, I didn't, it's bizarre. I fell down a lot. And when I moved to LA, I didn't know anybody. And I was like, well, I feel like I need to get to know people. So I was going to the gym and I saw this woman teaching a group fitness class and there were tons of people in it. So I started taking her class and she ended up opening a CrossFit. And I wanted to make friends. And so I started going to these classes and I made some of my best friends that I've ever met. Like all the girls that were in my wedding were either from work or from CrossFit. And I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And it was funny. I'd never really done anything physical my entire life. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is cool to move my body like this. So yeah.
That's amazing. What have you learned most about yourself during your CrossFit journey?
I think that I learned that you don't have to be great at everything. Like most of the things that I've put my mind to in my life, I've been fairly good at. And so I thought when I started doing CrossFit, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be great at this. And I was not great at that. And I'm not great. Like I'm okay at it, but I'm not a professional at it. I'm not the best I could be. And it's sort of a humbling thing to see something that is difficult to work on it and get better. And that really helped. That made me realize like loving the journey of working on something and having a goal and getting better, but not being perfect. And yeah, that's that sort of thing, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good lesson. Obviously, it comes down to like, moving forward without having to be perfect
Yeah.
with something. I think that's
Yeah. Yeah.
valuable. A lot of people
Yeah.
hold back themselves when it comes to doing something because they want it to be just perfect or just right, and it's not always the case. It's not reality, right?
No, exactly. Exactly.
So when along the way did you discover fantasy sports? When did you start playing fantasy football?
I was playing fantasy football when I was working at a bar back in Arizona. And I remember my bar back had come and he was like bringing glasses in and he was like, "Hey, Jules, there's we lost one for a fantasy league. Do you want to jump in?" And I was like, "I've never played it before." He's like, "It's fine. You know a lot about football. You'll be fine. You'll be fine." And I was like, "Okay." And that I must have been 22 or something. This is going to age me. It must have been about 22. And we still have that league. And it is about 20 years old. And my old bar back is still in it. And it's all these people. And we all used to work in a restaurant together. And now everyone is like married and has children and has real jobs. But like every year when we jump on Yahoo to draft our standard league that still hasn't changed, it's like we talk to each other like we're 20 something year old again. It's insane. And that's kind of what started it. So
Yeah, it's fun to grow with a fantasy league like that and live,
yeah,
experience life together. Because yeah, 20
yeah,
years
the
of
best.
playing fantasy, you probably experienced a lot together.
Oh my God,
What
yeah.
what was it that first hooked you? What was it that you loved about fantasy when you first started playing?
I mean, I think it was the competitiveness. I'm very competitive. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, it was the competitiveness matched with something that I understood and I knew about too. And it was like, I mean, it's a little bit better now, but even then, I was always the only girl who knew anything about sports. Like if guys came in to sit at the bar and we're talking about sports, I remember the guy that I would work with was like, "You have to go talk to them because I don't know anything about this." And so it was cool to be able to like be taken seriously in a circle like that, and that was something that was really that impactful for me.
So is that what you consider like your main league, or do you have other leagues that are really
I
important
mean,
to you these days?
yeah, I guess that is I have a couple work league, like I have a work league and then I have two CrossFit leagues. I have a CrossFit league from my old gym and then one from my new gym that I
Oh,
started.
funny.
I know. I don't know. They all it's like how do you pick your favorite child, right? They all have special places in your heart. And yeah, yeah. So I mean, I guess the old one is I mean, it's like a $25 buy-in. It's weird. It's like it's just never changed. It's just that and that's probably where we talk the most crap in that one because we've known each other so long.
Oh, for sure. No, that it makes
Yeah.
sense. Leagues like that are extra special, and you don't need a lot of bells and whistles in a special league like that
No.
goes back
Mm-mm.
that far. But
Not
over
at
the
all.
years, have you had any fun traditions in your fantasy leagues, live drafts, or trophies, or punishments, anything like that?
We always have trouble doing live drafts because a lot of my leagues are either people in different areas or people who are in the industry. So if you want to have fun, try to get 12 people who work in production together at times. You just can't do it. You can't do it. But there one punishment I still think I owe it from last year. Because I finished last. We had decided that we were gonna, this is one of my CrossFit leagues. We decided that whoever finished last was going to have to do, we have these things called hero workouts in CrossFit, which are supposed to be like very difficult. They're named after someone like in the armed forces who died, and they're big deals to do. And one of my friends in the league was like, whoever loses should have to do a drunk version of Murph. And Murph is a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats on a mile run. And I lost, and it's because all my people got injured. So to be fair, that is why. And I barely drink. And I remember I said to my friend Dan, I was like, Dan, I don't really drink. Can I just do Murph? And he's like, no, you have to drink. And I was like, oh, I'll have like half a sip of something, and then I'll be falling over when I run. So I still have to do that.
Well, that'll be fun to document. It could be good content, right?
I know. It definitely will be.
So in all the leagues that you play in, or the leagues you've played in over the years, is there one person that was like your biggest rival?
I think honestly now my biggest rival, it's a buddy of mine that we go to the gym together. His name's Tyler. And before we were in this gym league together, we would just text each other back and forth. You know, there's always that one person that you're like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I just need somebody to either tell me I'm crazy, or, you know, like, is this trade look good? Like, this is who I'm picking up, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as we started this league at this gym, I remember Tyler said to me, he's like, so I can't like text you about trades now. And I was like, well, you can text me, we can talk about it, but we're probably gonna have some different sort of feelings with it. But yeah, I'd say he's probably my biggest rival because I see him all the time too. So
it's always fun to have a rival in fantasy, right? It gets
right. Yeah,
gets the juices flowing for sure. Any favorite settings or formats in fantasy for you?
I always love to not have a kicker or defense. So that's always, because that's just annoying. And there's that. I like to play against the league median too. I think that is a fantastic thing because I feel like I've had so many years where, I'm sure you've had it, where you're like, great, scored the most points, and then buddy over here had Jamar Chase who had like 5 touchdowns or something. So probably that. I was in a league one year that was like a very, very old school league. Like everything was hand done. And like there was an email every week with scoring and all that sort of stuff. And they did a thing where you played through to the Super Bowl, including the Super Bowl. And what it was is, you weren't playing against anyone. You were just accumulating points. And when you were drafting, you had to keep in mind players that would be on teams that would last the longest, right? So because they're accumulating points. And you also had to draft a kick returner. This was in 2018-ish, maybe before that. And I remember, and I was asked to join this league because someone had died, because it was like that old of a league. So someone died, and my buddy was like, I know you're super into it. So I got into it. And he was like, bless his heart, he was like, this league's a little tough. It's a little complicated. You might not like get your footing for a little while. And I was like, okay, Scott. So that year, and you'll appreciate this, Mr. Seattle, that year, I drafted, I had, what's his name? Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was on this. And that was the year you guys won the Super Bowl with that beautiful, beautiful defense. And I had a couple other, I went really heavy with Seattle that year. And Percy Harvin had that run back in the Super Bowl for a touchdown, totally won the league. And I was not asked back. So I was not asked back after that. But I know, it was super funny. But that was a really cool, like, it's very difficult to do that and find a way now to like set that up as a setting. But if I can find a way to do that again, that was such an added quirk to think about when you were playing and drafting. So it was really
That's
cool.
wild. Yeah. Cause it's very much set up like a playoff fantasy football league. Like if you ever do one of those, but all season long, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it was super cool. I mean, it is cool to think now this year and moving forward, like you're gonna get the running back, like the points for, kickoff returns and things like that now. So that's kind of an added quirk. So
I like it. And then top it off with that touchdown. Definitely one of my favorite sports moments of all time. Cause that's,
I'm sure.
That's when we knew we sealed the deal, right? Like,
oh my God,
going into that second half, it's, dominant first half. You still got Peyton Manning on the other side. So that was one of my favorite plays. So I like that story. That's a good one. So
I think the only people who loved that Super Bowl were Seattle fans, because everyone else was like, this is really boring. But you guys were loving it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the greatest Super Bowl performance ever. That defense was amazing. Everyone's like, that was horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. So what inspired you to dive into the fantasy content creation world?
I had always just been interested in it, and I continually had people say to me, like when I was talking to them about sports, they were like, you should do this. Like you know what you're talking about. You should do this as a job. And I always remember being like, well, whatever. Like, what am I going to do? Like, you kind of don't really know what you can do with it until you know what you can do with it. Right. Like you sort of don't, I guess I didn't fully understand how available it was as an industry until somebody was like, just do it. And then I just kind of was like, okay, why not? And that's how I got into it with the fantasy footballers. I was saying one day to a friend of mine, I was like, you know what? Because I heard their spiel on the radio, on the podcast, they announced it, once a year and that's it. But they were looking for writers. And I remember saying to my friend, I was like, you know what? I think I'd really like to write for these guys. Like I've been listening to them for a while. I think I'd be good at it. And I remember my friend saying, what's the worst that's going to happen? You submit for it and they don't call you and they don't hire you and nothing ever changes. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I just did it. And then I forgot about it because it took they usually take 6 weeks to get back to you. And I had totally forgotten that I had even done it. And then I got a notification that Jason was following me on Twitter. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then Kyle called me and I was like, this is amazing. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you were consuming footballers content. Were you consuming other content a long time ago that you can remember, back when you first started playing?
I mean, I would buy the magazines. I remember buying them. God, this starts to date us, doesn't it? Go and pick up the magazines, right? Yeah, I would pick up the magazines and I would have a stack of them when I was drafting. And you pull the sheets out and you mark stuff off and whatnot. I don't even remember what the names of them all were at that point. But I was doing that. And then when I started to listen, I would listen to regular talk radio. Again, this is aging me. I would listen to KTAR talk radio back home and all this stuff. And then as podcasts started, becoming big, I listened to Fancy Footballers. I would listen to CBS sports stuff I started with. And then, you just kind of from there, you go, oh, okay, let's try this. Oh, let's, and now there's just so many. It's so many people with really interesting views. And I could just listen to sports podcasts all day, every day at this point.
It's true. It's an incredible amount of people doing incredible content in the fantasy space. Well, footballers are as good as it gets. What's your favorite experience with them? What's it been like working with them?
They're just great. They are delightful humans who have a really great work culture. And it's nice, especially because I work in production where they don't really care about you as humans. I know that sounds horrible, but and we're all very expendable working in TV and movies. That's it. You got to get the product out. That's what we're doing, and blah blah blah. And yeah, some people I work for do care and are considerate of me, but the fact that the footballers they want you to have a family and family time, and those things are important, and you don't have to be accessible 24 hours a day every day, and if you need time to do something, they're there. And that's really what wowed me, is the culture where it was oh, okay, so I can do what I like and I can still be with my family and have somewhat of a balanced life. We're all chasing that. We're all trying to get to that. But yeah, that was probably the best part of it. And then it is really nice to go see their live shows. So I always like to do that. They're coming back out here in like a month or so. So
Yeah, those live shows are amazing. I went to theirs in New York once upon a time.
oh,
What an
fun.
experience! Yeah, what an
Oh,
experience! And
dude.
those guys are the best. So happy that you've had such a good run there. But let's talk a little bit about your Football Guys opportunity. How did
Yeah.
this present itself?
Joey Wright. Joey Wright, I think we call each other. He called me his fantasy wife, and I said, "You can't say that because that sounds wrong." And I said, "Fantasy football husband." Yeah, exactly. So, fantasy football husband, and we're just so close. And he has had such a great experience with Football Guys, and we were talking about that. And I think he really put his neck out for me, and was suggesting me as they were looking for people to come onto the team. And I got to go on and do a little podcast with Dave and Alfredo, and then talk to Joe, and it's been really lovely. Like, everyone over there is great. I know it sounds like a broken record when I say everyone's great, but I mean, yeah, like, we don't talk to people who aren't great. That's the thing. Like, you don't, right?
Well, yeah, and look at those. I mean, those two entities. I mean, the footballers, the
Yeah.
Football Guys. I mean, they're both known for just being incredible people first. And I've experienced great things interacting with both groups. And the Football Guys, yeah, they're just
Yeah.
incredible from the top to the bottom. Joe is just amazing, and so it's a thrill to have you over there at Football Guys. So excited! What are you excited most about your opportunity with Football Guys?
I like the different style of content and the variation that I'm going to be able to do. Like, they do so much of like just quick little pieces that you can do, where it's like, as we were talking about, like navigating around base camp and all that stuff, as you sort of see what, where they post opportunities and what not to write about. And it's like, there's a couple things where you're like 2 or 3 sentences on this, paragraph here, this there. You can write, 10,000 words on this. You can do, so you have a lot of variation. And, some of your ideas, when I think, like, I have my shower thoughts. I don't know when you do your best thinking. I have my shower thoughts. Sometimes when you're in the shower, you're like, oh my God, that would be a great thing to write about. And then you start tooling around and you're like, oh, it's good, but it's not like 5,000 words good. It's like a good, solid paragraph that we can just talk about. And that's the nice thing there, is like, you can kind of have the flexibility to kind of go whichever way you want to go with it. So
I love it. I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest, most difficult challenge for you so far working in the fantasy space?
I think challenge is such a weird word. I think there's always difficulty as a female in the fantasy space. I mean, one of my biggest challenges is not reading the comments. That's always fun. Like, I remember, like, the first time I got like a crappy response troll thing, my husband was like, you cannot read those things. Just don't even go there. And I know, like, guys get it too, but it's just like, it's tough. There's some real not nice humans out there. But yeah, I think that I have been very, very fortunate to meet and work with some amazing men who definitely value diverse perspectives. And I mean, that's not necessarily just gender. I think that's through everything. It's like background, race, anything. And I think surrounding yourself with people like that, it makes me not even think about the female part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I know what I have to say is interesting and good, and I have a different point of view that you do. I mean, we all have to do our job well, so that's the first part of it. You have to know what you're talking about, but I do like being able to give my perspective in hopefully a different way than some other people do. And it is nice to be surrounded by some men who really want to hear that and they want to push that forward. So yeah, if I don't read the comments, I'm pretty good. Like there was Football Guys tweeted out something. I don't know if you saw it the other day about something I said about, I think it was about Josh Jacobs or something. And somebody responded and was like, well, Julia doesn't know anything. And they went back and Football Guys responded, well, we're glad you put like a smiley face at the end of your tweet, because last time we disagreed with Julia, she broke our finger or something. Like, and I was like, that's good. That's how you deal with trolls. Like, it's like, you have to be funny about it, right? Because
yeah,
the internet's a fun place full of fun people. So
Yeah, what are you gonna say to that? Like that troll right
No,
there is feeling a little guilty for
exactly.
that tweet for sure. What's been the most fulfilling
Exactly.
part? What's been the most fulfilling part of your industry journey so far?
I mean, kind of like what I said there. I know I answered that question kind of, I think both sides of it is meeting these great, like meeting some great men who are so supportive of women in this industry. And it's like you, the ballers, like Josh Hudson's great. Like just people who are like, yeah, get out there. I'm gonna push to so people can see you and hear you. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get out there and you got to prove that you know it first. Whereas like a lot of guys don't have to necessarily prove that they know it. They just say that they do. So it is nice to see a lot of guys out there really helping to promote women in sports in general. So, and meeting the other women in this industry too, that is an incredible thing to see the support system. Because look, girl, we can be tough. We can be tough on each other. Sometimes I think women are their own worst enemy, and it's not like that in fantasy sports. I feel like it's so supportive among women that we just want everyone to do well, and there's plenty of space out there for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean it's a fantastic community. If you don't know it, the
Yeah,
fantasy football community is incredible, like on so many different
yeah,
levels. And you're talking about the support, some great people. There's just so many incredible, awesome people in
yeah.
fantasy. How much have these relationships meant to you over these last couple of years? Getting to know people, meeting people, the thing like the Fantasy Football Expo event. Talk to me about that
Yeah,
experience.
that was so fun. That was just last year. Last year was hard for me because my industry was on strike, and so normally when I would have gone back to work in July, I didn't go back to work until like December. So in during that time, I was fortunate to have time to do things and sort of work on myself and whatever. But at that time, you don't have a job, and your sense of identity and your sense of being able to contribute to the world goes through some up and down. So I kind of had like a up and down year, and it was really great to go to a place and connect with people that internet friends that you've never ever met in person, which is bizarre to say that we are in a world where, I could talk to somebody for 10 years and never meet them in person. And just like so little judgment about anything there. Like everyone was just like, "Hey bro, we're just here to have a good time." Like that's it. That's it. And it was just pure fun. It was pure fun. And everyone was so kind and yeah, it was a really fun time. It's hard to get to Ohio. And you know this coming from the West
Yeah,
Coast. It
yeah.
is very difficult to find flights to Ohio.
Yeah, and you did that solo. Like you just that's a lot of
Yeah.
courage to like go from California solo. Like it's not even the
Yeah.
fantasy footballers weren't even there. You went there and
I
meeting
just did.
so many people for the first time.
Yeah, I did. I remember saying to my husband I was a little nervous. Like I said before, like sometimes I have this weird sense of like I could do this. And I remember saying like he was like, "You're gonna be fine. You're gonna, some people, you'll be fine, and otherwise you'll just meet people." And back to Joey, like Joey was great. Like the guy, he took me around. The guys from Frontier Fantasy really sort of took me under their wing and were like just introducing me to people. And that's what it was. It was like once I started meeting people, I was like, I'm good, I'm fine. Yeah, we're good. So yeah, that was a great time.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Did you have a favorite event at the expo?
Um doing the women's draft that we did
Mm.
at the Hall of Fame, that was really cool. That
The
was really cool
King's
because
Classic, right? The
yeah, the
Queen's
Queen's
Classic.
Classic. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I think I don't remember if it was 12 or 14 of us, but that was just cool. That was just cool and the table was set up in this like U fashion, right? And you had the monitor right there, and it was just like Lisa was on my right, and like you just look, women. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Saw ladies sitting there, and that was cool. And it's just very rarely am I in leagues with women. I'm just not. Like maybe one, maybe two, but it's just that was really cool. So yeah, I had
I
a great
love
time.
it.
And I got a handstand walk across the field at the Hall of Fame. So that was fun.
Okay, okay. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Are
it's
you heading back?
very on brand.
I love that. Are you heading back this year?
I can't go this year because I'm going to be working. So good thing that I'm working. Very,
Yeah.
very positive. Yes, have a job. So, but yeah, so I'm glad I was able to go and took the opportunity when
Yeah.
it was there. Cause I remember going back and forth. And I even said to my husband, I was like, I don't know. Should I spend the money? I don't know. I don't know how long the strike is going to go. And he's like, you need to go. You just need to go. And so that was nice to have him being very supportive of me going. He's very supportive of all this. So yeah.
That's huge. Support is vital and stuff with stuff like this, especially when you have so many different interests and are pursuing so many different things. But another event that you did attend, and that's where I spoke with you last year about kind of going to the expo, but going to the SFB Live event at Trophy Smack. I imagine you're going to be doing that again this year, right?
I am. Will you be there? I'm
Yes.
assuming you'll be there. Yes. Good.
Yes.
That
Talk
was
to me about that. Yeah, it's obviously it's like a micro expo event, but so special. So and Trophy Smack does an incredible job. There's so many awesome people there. Talk to me about that experience.
They put on quite a show. And I mean, the first thing when I walked in there, because I had never been there before, and I was like, is this a bowling alley? Like, what are they like? I was like, what is happening? And I think I got there pretty early because I was like nervous driving down and finding a parking spot, very California. And I was just like walking around. I was like, is this where people work? This is amazing. I was like, this is fascinating. So just like the vibe there. Yeah, they put on a great event. You're right. It was like a mini sort of expo with everyone sort of smashed in there in that room, and had a great time seeing people that I hadn't seen in a long time. And meeting again, like you, meeting people that I hadn't had a chance to meet in person yet. And that was a great time. That was a great time.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're just a handful of weeks away. Looking forward to getting back there.
God, sure. Yes, it's so soon. It's so soon.
So soon. Time flies. Time flies. Let's dive into some rapid fire questions. I'll just throw out some questions. Let me know what first comes to mind. Your answers don't have to be rapid, but whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
What do you enjoy most about what you're doing in the space right now?
What do I enjoy most? I like that I can be creative. I like that I can do it in different ways. Like I love coming on and doing podcasts. I love doing video content. I love writing. I love, doing little things on Twitter. Like the variety of it is really enjoyable to me. So yeah.
Good. Great. Who are some of your favorite people you've met in Hollywood that you've worked with? Who are the good people?
Jerry O'Connell. Jerry O'Connell is one of the nicest humans I've ever met in my entire life. He is a joy. Jack McBrayer. Do you know Jack McBrayer from 30 Rock? Yeah. He's fantastic. Henry Winkler. I got to work with Henry Winkler. Cool. And he should be. He's great. Oh, John Lithgow. John Lithgow he was a joy too. Like Summit. I've been very, very fortunate. Like I think about it. Like I haven't really worked with any assholes. Like I really haven't. And you hear horror stories of people once in a while. And I think, you kind of put out the vibe of people you want to work with and you want to surround with. And I think I put out a really good, happy vibe. So I think I'm pretty lucky about what comes back to me. So
yeah, it's the first thing I thought of it. It's what comes back to you.
Yeah.
It's good. It's amazing how that works, right?
Yeah. Shocking.
Have you ever discussed fantasy football when you're doing hair?
All the time. So all the time. So when one of my girls who works for me, her name's Cindy, and she always says that the right person sits in your chair, right? So like, we have guest stars coming in and sometimes I will be like, okay, so Cindy's going to do your hair. I'm going to do this guy, blah, 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 blah. And 99% of the time I put someone in Cindy's chair and they're discussing their, celiac disease and random things that they have, the sweetheart things. And I'll have people sit in my chair and find out that they went to college with the Harbaughs and they're going to a wedding out there and all this stuff. And it's like the right people get there and we just start chit chatting. And the entire trailer rolls their eyes at me at this point because they're not sports people at all. I'm the only sports person in that trailer. So when Andy Reid was coming, they were like, we don't know who this person is. And I was like, I know you don't, but
I got this.
Yeah. I'm on it.
That's good. Arizona or California? What state is better?
I mean, frick. California costs like your firstborn child to live here. So a little cost wise, a little bit better in Arizona, but the heat is it's incapacitating. I was back there a few weeks ago to visit my dad and it's real warm. And it wasn't even like hot yet. Like I was working out at 7 a.m. and it felt like it was already 100 degrees. So definitely weather-wise is a little more palatable up in California. So probably California, but like I said, gas is like $6. So
Yeah,
I don't know how we do it.
There's pros and cons for sure.
Yeah. I don't know
What
how
is
we do it.
what is it about CrossFit that you enjoy most? Compared to other methods of fitness.
I think because it is measurable and you can see yourself getting better. I think that especially as you get older, we just don't have time. Like we just don't have a lot of time. So why would you put time into something where there is not an ability to get better and see what you're doing, right? Like it's just wasting time. Like same thing with like doing podcasts and writing and creating content. Like why would you do it if you don't want to be good at it and get better at it? So CrossFit's definitely something that I can visually see, oh, am I doing this faster? Am I lifting heavier? Am I doing this? And just the community, just the people there is like, I mean, it's my family. So it's great. Yeah.
I was gonna say both fantasy football and CrossFit are definitely known for passionate communities. How important is community? The community aspect of these hobbies for you.
Well, it's like I said, when you get older, it's like when you get older, we don't have hobbies, right? You have your family, which is great, and if you have a partner and kids and whatnot and all of that's wonderful, but like besides that, like what do we really do for ourselves? Like we go to work and we do that, and I mean people will say, oh, I read or watch a movie or whatever, but like how do you get out and meet people? You don't. Like making friends when you're older is so hard. Like it's almost harder to make friends than it is to like date, I feel like. So things like fantasy sports and CrossFit force you to meet people and interact. And I think that's so important. It's so important as you get older because it's hard. It's just tough. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. It is true. It's hard to meet people. You're right. And it's funny when you say that, it's easier to date, to find someone to date than a friend. It is true.
Yeah.
It's true. So many friendships are built over years and years and childhood experiences or college experiences. Once you get past that, you got your work, the people you work with, but it's true. It is true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
What are your favorite hobbies outside of fantasy sports and CrossFit? I mean, you probably don't have room for them, but
I know I don't have tons of room. I do, as I was making fun of it, my last thing, I do like to read a lot. I've been getting into reading again, like over the past couple years, because I felt like I read so much when I was growing up, and that stuff sort of falls by the wayside. And I'm trying to like get back to pushing the phone out of the way and reading a little bit more. That we're big movie people, watch a lot of TV shows, stuff like that. Our kid is super into baseball. He's 10 now. So feels like every weekend is a, 47 baseball games. So I guess that's a hobby, watching my child play baseball. But yeah, God, every hour is scheduled over here. I don't know about you.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine for sure. What is your all-time favorite TV show?
If I want to laugh, Arrested Development. And if I want to cry, I would say The Leftovers.
Okay,
The Leftovers was incredible. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah.
Oof,
That's good.
It's
Yeah,
heavy,
that's powerful.
but yeah.
How about an
Yeah.
all-time favorite movie?
If I want to laugh, Clue. Clue is my all-time favorite
Okay.
movie. I've seen it like 47,000 times.
Okay.
And if I want something more serious, I would say I loved American Beauty. That was one of my favorites. And anything Christopher Nolan-esque. I love like Inception and stuff like that. Those world weird changes.
Stuff that make you think a little bit. Yeah,
yes.
that's good.
Yeah.
How about an all-time favorite sports movie?
Draft Day.
Okay.
Draft Day. And we try to watch it every year. So that's our thing. We watch Draft Day every year before the draft, and we watch Die Hard every Christmas Eve. So we have those two movies that we watch every year. You gotta
have those traditions.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh,
that's
100%.
great.
Yeah.
Who's your all-time favorite band or musician or artist?
I would say Weezer and Mumford and Sons are my favorite. Yeah, I'm old school. I'm dating myself again. Like Blue Album, Pinkerton, like So
I love
Weezer.
it. I love it. What are you most grateful for at this time?
I am very, very grateful for my family. I'm very grateful for my husband and how supportive he is of me and what I love to do. I mean, we've been married almost like 2 years now. And I remember my entire life, I never thought I would find someone who was like such a cheerleader to me to what I wanted to do. And like that's the thing. You just want to find a partner who's your biggest cheerleader, right? And I remember when we met and I was like, yeah, you know, I really like sports and talk about this and blah blah blah. And like he played football. So I was like kind of guarded and I'm like, I don't know if he's gonna be into me being the one who knows all this stuff. And he goes, great. He's like, you know more about this than I do. I could tell you plays, but you know everything about the people on the screen. And so that's really cool. And it's, you know, we sit every football season, we get to sit there and watch football together. And he definitely knows the play. Like he was an offensive lineman. So he has a perspective probably, you know, very different than fantasy sports. So
Sure.
It is always cool to hear, you know, he'll be like, oh, this, and then, you know, take his little pointer and he'll like wave at the TV. So yeah. So like that is one of the best things in my life. Like my dad, like all those things are very, very important to me. So
I love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. Can you name
Yeah.
a few people that have had a huge impact on you during your journey in this space?
I would say I said Joey Wright, which I talked about earlier. Liz Loza has been incredible. Just talking to her and hanging out with her and as a female in the industry, and she's just been very honest and kind and helpful, and it's always lovely to see her. Saw her last time at Scott Fishbowl draft. Hopefully I'll see her again this year. Kyle Yates was super helpful to me as well early on, and he was reached out to me and wanted to have me contribute some stuff. He was great. And then Kyle, my editor at Fancy Footballers, has been always, all of those guys are great, but it's like just good people who are encouraging and and just want you to succeed. That's what it is. And I think it's important. Like it's important to have somebody, like I think about that with Liz. It's like, it's important to have someone again that looks like you, right? And is willing to like mentor you and teach you and just be there, because it means a lot. Like I don't know if she understands how much it meant. Like I met her for dinner and I was like, oh my God, I gotta go have dinner with Liz. Oh my God. And those things are really valuable. I think they stick in your mind.
That's great. I love it. And Liz is the absolute best. Like her inspiration she's inspired so many people and done so many great things for people behind the scenes, that she's an absolute treasure in this industry. And everybody needs a Joey Wright in their life, because
everybody needs a Joey
exceptional.
Wright. We're doing a draft right now. He did just snipe Trey McBride from me though, so
of course he did. He took your Cardinal. What's this?
Not happy with that. So I took his Jared Goff. So there's that.
Perfect.
Turn around is fair play. Yeah.
There you go. What advice do you have for people that want to follow your footsteps and get more involved in creating content in fantasy, or get more involved in the industry in some way?
I think don't be scared and just do it. Like just do it. And like I said, like my friend had said to me, like, what are you going to lose? Like, someone's going to say, no, we're not going to hire you. Like, and you don't even need to be working for a company. You don't even need to be creating content for a company. Like that's what's so great about the status of the world right now with the internet. It's like, you can be just doing it. Like put stuff up on Twitter, do stuff on, you build a website for $20. You could do anything. You could do YouTube. And it's just so accessible now to make content that just do it. Just put it out there. And it doesn't need to be perfect. That's the thing. And that took me a while to get okay with, like we were talking about, like not being perfect at something. I remember like when I was first doing like some videos or something for Kyle, and I probably the first one I did 15 times. And I was like, nope, go back, delete. And then I was like, this has been 90 minutes. What am I doing? Like, just talk to this camera. It's a 2-minute thing. It's okay. No one's if it's not perfect, it's okay. No one's ever perfect. So I think you just got to do it. Just got to put yourself out there. And also like message people. Like if you have questions, like what I did with Liz, like just message people, reach out, ask for their help, ask for anything. Like I've had some really cool people just send me a resume and say, hey, can you look at this? What do you think about this? Do you have advice for this? Like you're not always going to get someone to respond, but I always try to say something, because you know how impactful that is to hear that from somebody, you know?
I love it. It's great advice. And for those trolls out there, you will break their finger too. So I will break their fingers, their legs, the whole thing. That's yeah.
Yeah, I'm very strong.
I love it. Absolutely great. Anything else that we haven't covered before we close things out?
God, no, you're so fun to talk to. I feel like I've just really walked down memory lane with you.
Like I said, it's the Julia Papworth life story. There it is. There it is.
Wow.
Can you tell the listeners where to find you, and feel free to share about your? I know you do some writing with CrossFit as well. So if someone is interested in CrossFit, tell them where to find your stuff.
Absolutely. You can find me on social at Julia Papworth. My written stuff for fancy footballers over at Footballguys. I've been doing a mock girl summer draft night on Thursday nights that I've been doing with Wendy. So we're doing that again. What day is it today? Tuesday, I think. Yes, today's Tuesday. So in 2 days on Thursday night, we'll have another mock draft, doing that leading up to the season. If you are interested in CrossFit, I write for the Morning Chalk Up. So that's a fun thing to check out as well. And we go back to work on SWAT. So you can watch SWAT on CBS this fall. I don't know when our time frame is. So look at me pimping everything.
There
here.
we go. People will be looking good on that show this fall.
Oh God, I kill it with all the helmets and the bald heads over there. I really do.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Julia. This was an absolute pleasure. So much fun, and I can't wait to see you next month at SFB LA, where we can do the trophy smack thing again.
Yes, we can sit and talk to each other in person.
There we go.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.